Welcome to another video from the Everything Catholic Show. So in the Old Testament, where were people taken, great people, where were they taken in the Old Testament after they died, Benedict? What does the Catholic Church have to say about this?
Okay, so according to what the Catholic Church's teachings are, before the resurrection of Christ, the gates of heaven were considered closed due to original sin. Even the most faithful people, let's say Abraham, Moses, and David, could not enter the presence of God because of original sin.
Because even though they were great men, they were still filled with sin.
So they were all caught in the nature of limbo because they could not enter the presence of God until redemption was won by Christ dying on the cross.
My favorite analogy I like to use for this is, let's say you were driving and you crash into a car and now the car is dented. Even if the owner forgave you for that crash, someone has to pay for that crash, the owner or you. So our sins, even though God the Father in the Old Testament forgave us of our sins, there is still damage done to our soul. So Christ came down from heaven to die for all of our sins, to pay for the damages that we ourselves have caused.
This place, the nature of limbo, was not a place of punishment, unlike the limbo of infants or purgatory. This place was not of suffering. It was like a waiting room, like waiting in the clinic for your turn. You just waited there. And it was a place of rest and peace, where the righteous souls awaited for Jesus.
It's like you going into a restaurant and you have no seat. You have not placed down a deposit for your booking of a seat. Then you have to wait outside. You have to line up, right? Until someone gets out of the restaurant, until you can get into that restaurant. It's like Christ. The gates of heaven are still closed because we have caused permanent damage to ourselves by sinning. So heaven is a pure place and we cannot step into a place that is pure with original sin.
If you look at biblical references, the bosom of Abraham, as is stated in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, which is Luke 16 verse 22, it is stated, the poor man Lazarus is carried by the angels to the bosom of Abraham, a place of comfort separated from the suffering of the wicked.
I was talking to a fellow Pentecostal the other day, and he said that if we think that God is out of time, which us Catholics agree with along with Protestants, God is not limited by time, then why God not take great men of the Old Testament into heaven and just travel into the present where Christ have already redeemed our sins? And my response to them is, well, that is God's plan.
But if he had to send his son down for our sins, of course he would have to let his son die. Then those people from the bosom of Abraham or the nature of limbo, they would have to be released into heaven. It's not like they were suffering there. They were just resting.
I think when Christ went down to the bosom of Abraham, he preached to them the new ways, and they could choose whether or not they want to believe him.
And when Jesus died, that was when Jesus led them into heaven.
Which is very interesting. That's why there is a separation in the Old and New Testament. In the Old Testament, people have to seek to get into the bosom of Abraham. But in the New Testament, we can live for eternity with God. Why does it say in the Nicene Creed that Jesus descended down into hell?
So, if you look at the nature of limbo, or the bosom of Abraham, at that time, that was known as hell, because God wasn't there at that time.
In my opinion, hell is separation from God. If God is love, peace, and kindness, then hell is a world without love, peace, and kindness. And what do we have without love, peace, and kindness? We have chaos. But hell that they were in the Old Testament, righteous men, they weren't in a hell where it is filled with suffering, but they were in a hell just separated from God. Because we can see in the Old Testament, God is very present in the earth in the Old Testament, so the earth is not separation from God. And us as Catholics, we believe that in the Mass, heaven and earth touch, so we are not in separation from God on earth. In hell, in the Old Testament, in the bosom of Abraham, they were separated from God. That's why it is still called hell.
what is very interesting, right? When it is stated Jesus went down into hell to collect the keys to open the gates of heaven, that is when everything starts to click. He opened the gates of heaven, so those who are in the bosom of Abraham will be welcomed into heaven.
And this is one of the things that makes you think what an awesome God we have. That can plan this far ahead, that can plan thousands of years since Genesis until the present time. As we
So,
reflect on his resurrection today, we realize that he has done a very amazing thing, and without him, we will still all be trapped in the bosom of Abraham. But God sent his son to pay for our sins. So now we have someone to pay for the car crash.
exactly. Think of it, right? Jesus' sacrifice is paying for our car crash, our original sin. He paid it all with his suffering. And at the time of our filming, it is currently Easter Sunday. So this is the day of his resurrection.
Correct. That's why we chose to film today. I hope you guys enjoy watching this amazing video as much as we enjoy making it. Please give us some feedback on what kind of videos you would like us to make in the future. Bye bye.
Bye bye.